This is Advanced Math, Unit 8, Lesson 1. Linear equations is the title for today's lesson, which is nice because it is all review. Review from Math 1, review from Math 3, review from stuff you learned even back in middle school. Linear equations. All right, part 1, slope-intercept form. Okay, slope-intercept form, if you remember from a previous math class, is y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, and your x and your y are your variables. All right. We are going to write the equation in slope-intercept form. Okay. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. If possible, and I'll explain what that means as we go. Okay, number 1, points 4, 6, it passes to the 2 points 4, 6, and 2, 12. Okay, so we're looking for the equation of the line that goes to these 2 points in slope-intercept form. Now, if you remember back from middle school possibly, but for sure in Math 1, the first thing you do is find the slope. Now this requires you to remember the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so the slope is 12 take away 6 over 2 take away 4. As long as you're consistent, 12 take away 6, 2 take away 4, or you can do 6 take away 12 and 4 take away 2, again as long as you're consistent. This equals 6 over negative 2, which reduces to negative 3. And then the second thing we do is find b. And we find b just by plugging in what we know. What do we know? We know m is negative 3. We found that up here. And you know an x and a y from one of the points. It does not matter which point you use. Pick one. I'm just going to pick the first one, 4 and 6. So this is m, this is x, and that is y. So for in this, where is it at? In the y equals mx plus b form, for the y I'm plugging in 6 equals, for the m I'm plugging in negative 3. For the x I'm plugging in 4. Plus b is what I'm looking for. Y equals mx plus b. Do you remember how to do this? Which gives me 6 equals negative 12 plus b. Add the 12 over to the other side. b equals 18. Which means the final answer is y equals m, which we got to be negative 3, x plus the 18. Remember, x and y are variables. You don't plug in the numbers in your final answer. They stay x and y. That's your m that we found earlier. There's your b that we just found right now. And you're done with that problem. Number 2, 5 comma 2 and 5 comma negative 3. All right, first thing we do is find the slope. Negative 3 minus 2 and 5 minus 5. Negative 3 minus 2, I add the opposite, that's negative 5. 5 take away 5 is 0. And negative 5 divided by 0 is undefined. Now, do you remember what it means as far as a graph goes, what it means to have a slope that is undefined? Are those vertical lines going up and down, or horizontal lines going right and left? They are vertical, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So your vertical line looks like this. That's your equation for I'm sorry, that's what your graph. That's what your graph looks like for an undefined graph. Now, how did I know to go through 5? Like, why not go through 1 or 2 or -1 or -2? Because if I were to plot the points 5, 2 and 5, -3, it ended up being on this line. Can you see that? If you look up here, x is 5, x is 5, your equation is x equals 5. All right, so really quick reminder, all vertical lines are x equals 2, x equals 3, x equals 0, x equals -4. All vertical lines are x equals a number. How do you know what the number is? You look at your two ordered pairs, whatever the x values, and they should be the same. That's what makes it undefined. You look at the two x values, again, they should be the same. That's your equation, x equals 5. Again, if I were to plot 5, 2 and 5, -3, that's the graph I would end up with. Okay, number 3. Oh, back here on this one really quick, it said slope-intercept form, and the book will say, if not, write in general form and explain why you cannot write it in slope-intercept form. I can't write this one in slope-intercept form because the slope is undefined. The best I can do is x equals 5. That's it. Okay, number 3. 3, -7, 4, -7. First thing I'm going to do is find the slope. -7, I'll put that in parentheses, over 4 take away 3. And we add the opposite, which is -7 plus 7, which is 0, over 1, which is 0. And do you remember what 0 lines, with a slope of 0, what it means to have a slope of 0? It means you have a horizontal line. And if you were to plot those points, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, -7, and then 4, -7, and it has to be horizontal, it ends up looking like this, going right through the y value, the y-axis at -7. That there is your horizontal line. Now remember, all vertical lines are going to be x equals a number. All horizontal lines will always be y equals a number. How do you know what it is? The y, look over here, the two y values should be the same. That's what made it 0 at the top, which is why it's horizontal. This one, you look over here at the two x values, again, which should be the same. That's what made it undefined at the bottom. X equals a number, y equals a number. All right, so what does this equation look like? Y equals what? -7. Y equals -7, which technically is slope-intercept form. If you were to write it as y equals 0x minus 7, your slope is 0, your y-intercept is -7. There's your y-intercept, slope is 0. This is the way I'd like to see it, but technically it is slope-intercept form. Okay, I am moving along. Part 2. Which is my favorite form, point slope form. I like point slope form because there's not really a whole lot of work. You just write it and you're done. Okay, point slope form looks like this. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And this is a form you worked with, I believe in Math 2, but for sure in Math 3. Okay. The x and the y without the subnumbers are just variables. That will stay y, and that will stay x. M is obviously the slope, and x1 is coming from the x value of an ordered pair from your point, and y1, same thing as the y value from that same ordered pair. So you get your point, x1 and y1, you get your slope, and you have your equation. All right. I'm just going to try one. We're going to write the equation in point slope form. Write the equation in slope-intercept form is what we did earlier. Now we're going to write the equation in point slope form. All right, number 1. The point is 7, -4, and the slope is 2/3. Now here's why I love these type of problems, because again, there's not a whole lot of work. As long as you have the slope and a point, and if you don't have the slope, then you find that first. Then you just write it into this form. Y stays y, take away y1, which is -4, so y minus -4 is +4, equals m, which they gave us to be 2/3, parentheses, x the variable, take away x value from your point, which is 7, and you are done. No distributing, no getting y by itself, that's it. So I could look at this and say, oh, the slope is 2/3, and the point is -4, +7. And I said that wrong, sorry, backwards. +7, -4. So the slope is 2/3, and the point is opposite, +7, opposite, -4. Make sense? How did I get a +4? It's y minus, and y minus a negative is a plus. All right, I'm going to move right along to part 3, which is parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, parallel and perpendicular lines. First thing you have to remember about parallel lines and what we have to remember about perpendicular lines. Those are the symbols for parallel, that's the symbol for perpendicular. What do we need to know? Parallel lines have the same slope, so the same m value. Perpendicular lines, their slopes are opposite reciprocal. Opposite reciprocal. All right, so this is something you should remember from previous math classes. Parallel lines, same slope. Perpendicular lines, opposite reciprocal slope. All right, number 1. We're going to write the equation of the line in point slope form that passes through the given point and is, let's write that down. Write the equation of the line in point slope, which is the nice one, point slope form that passes through the given point and is A, parallel to the given line, and then B, perpendicular to the given line. This is definitely a test question, so you want to make sure you understand how, first what they're asking and then how to do it. Write the equation of the line in point slope form that passes through the given point and is parallel to the given line and perpendicular to the given line. That means they're going to give us a point, the given point, and they're going to give us a line. We're just going to use that same point and the same line twice, part for A and then part for B. Okay, let's see. Oh, one more thing. On your book page today or in class, it's going to ask you to write it not in point slope. It's going to ask you to write it in slope intercept. Don't do that. Do it the same way we did it in notes, point slope form. I will remind you about that in class, and it will be on your assignment sheet as well. So remembering, when your book says slope intercept for this type of problem, you want to use point slope. It's easier. All right. So they're going to give you a problem like this, and they're going to give you the point is 3, 1, and the line is 8x minus 4y equals 5. So there's the point and there's the line. The point is 3, 1. The line is 8x minus 4y equals 5. All right, so part A, we want to find a line that is parallel to this line passing through this point. And then part B, I want to find a line that's perpendicular to the same line and also passes through this point. Make sense? So if you were to have, I'm not going to do all the graphing and finding y equals mx plus b, but if you had a line like this and you had a random point anywhere that's not on the line, two things. You're going to look for the line that passes through that point and is parallel. And then you're also going to look for a line that passes to this point but's perpendicular. Okay, so you're looking for two things. Again, they're going to give you the point and they're going to give you the original line. And you're going to find the equation for the line that is parallel to the given line going through the point given. And another line that is perpendicular to the given line, again going through that same point. Okay. So let's see if we can get this done. Part A. Is parallel. Now, regardless if I'm doing parallel or perpendicular, I need to know the slopes, the original slope of this line here. Now, it did not give it to me in y equals mx plus b form where I can look at it and say, oh, the slope is blah. Or they didn't give it to me in this form here, where again, I can look at it and find the slope. They gave it to me in what's called general form, which is unfortunate. You will have to get y by itself. So negative 4y, I'm going to subtract the 8x over negative 8x plus 5. And then go ahead and divide everything by negative 4. Why am I doing this? So it can be in y equals mx plus b form so that I can find the slope. Gone. Y equals positive 2x minus 5/4. What is the slope here? The slope is 2. All right, I'm just going to put a little bubble here so it doesn't get confused in with our work. All right, so I'm looking for the equation of a line that is parallel to this line and goes through this point. So if it's parallel to this line, I'm going to write it like this. Parallel slope, that's the parallel marking, M for slope equals. If it's parallel, it has to have the same slope, so the slope is going to be 2. Nothing's changing. Now the point is going to be 3, 1. That was given to us. We didn't have to figure that out. They gave us the point. Parallel to this line means the slope is 2. Again, this is a definite on the test. Parallel to this line means the slope is 2, and it has to pass through this point, which is not on this line. Okay, it's easy. Y minus y1. Y minus y1 is 1 equals a slope of 2, parentheses, and then x minus x1. I'm using this form right here. X minus x value is 3, and that is it. You are done. No distributing, no getting y by itself. You're done. If we were to go through and graph this either with the graphing calculator or if you were using a graphing calculator, you need to get it into y equals mx plus b form. Either way, if you were to go through and graph it and graph this line, they would be parallel. These two lines would be parallel, and this line would go through the point 3, 1. Okay, part B. Part B is asking us to do this thing again, but this time look for the line that is perpendicular. Going through the same point, but it has to be perpendicular. So I'm going to write it like this, perpendicular slope. That's the perpendicular symbol, M for slope, equals, if the original slope is 2 and I want it to be perpendicular to that line, opposite reciprocal. All right. Original slope was 2, and they didn't give that to me. I had to get it into y equals mx plus b form. Original slope is 2. Parallel slope would be 2. Perpendicular slope would be negative 1/2, and I'm still using the same point because that's the given point they gave to us. All right. Y minus y1, which is 1, equals the slope negative 1/2 parentheses, and then x minus the x value, which is 3. That's it, you're done. No extra work needed. Now, this is how I want you to do it when you're working on your classwork. On the test, it's up to you if you want to put into y equals mx plus b form, but it's easier if you just leave it like this. All right, these two slopes are perpendicular. This one's parallel to the original, This one's perpendicular to the original, and they both go to the point 3, 1. All right, that's it for this lesson.